Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm here at the Canadian Science Policy Conference with Dr. Sacha Noukhovitch, who is the founder and executive director at the STEM Fellowship and editor-in-chief of the STEM Fellowship Journal. And here to talk with you a bit about your work. So for starters, could you give us a brief overview of what you do at the STEM Fellowship, what the challenges are, and how it relates to science policy?
Well, STEM Fellowship, it is a national non-profit organization which is actually a network of digital learners. We unite those who acquire science knowledge on their own through the wealth of new resources and ways of acquisition and crowdsourcing of science. And that's why, as an organization, we are emphasizing on two main things. We're empowering digital learners with the data science as a way of enhancing their analytics, as a way of enhancing their critical thinking with the computational tools. And on the other hand, we are using our very close connection with Canadian Science Publishing, and we are giving students an opportunity of their first scholarly publication. Practically, we are giving students all the aspects of science communication, not only to get themselves exposed to the scientific community, but also to benefit and tap into open access publications, into the new sources of academic knowledge like Mendeley, which is electronic, and all the ways of how now science can be absorbed by this new generation of scientists.
That's very interesting. So you're mentioning two main streams here, the data science and then the science communication. Could you explain a bit how these things are complementary to each other?
Well, you see, as the organization, I may be the oldest one in the organization with my gray hair. The rest is driven by students and governed by students. So, we are responding to the needs of these digital learners. So, unfortunately, the existing education system doesn't really meet the expectation of these digital learners to full extent. And that's why we as a community of digital learners try to provide them with the way they acquire. We actually look how they are naturally tapping into knowledge. They are knowledge crowdsourcing techniques which we follow on Reddit, which we find on Quora. We follow them everywhere, and when we're saying we, it's actually we as community of learners like themselves. And then, based on this accumulated knowledge, we are trying to answer the needs of this community in sense what is their first needs in science, in acquisition of information, in sharing of information, and interacting with the scientific community. That's where these two things work together. Data science plays a huge role because for this generation of students, I personally believe they are natural data scientists. This is the way of thinking. This is the way of their scientific method, how they are solving and carrying out their research.
So can you elaborate a bit more on a specific example of how the current data natives are going to be using this technology in order to learn about science and to analyze this data?
Well, I would like to mention the program we developed based on the experience. It's called Big Data Inquiry and Experiential Learning Program. We intentionally didn't use the term of hackathon, because hackathons, it is mostly a showcase of already existing abilities. Our Big Data Challenge, it is a program which takes students sometimes with no even prior knowledge of coding, and we not teach them. We create a fertile ground where they acquire, where they drive their learning themselves, where they are building their computational skills. Not always coding skills, because coding, it is a lower level. We really target at thinking with data, thinking with computational thinking, and that is what we are trying to provide. So this big data challenge, we implemented at high school level. No other big data challenge is actually offered to high school students. It is usually the opportunity only for PhDs or professionals. Results are absolutely overwhelming, and we are happy to publish it because these findings are reviewed by NRC. They are reviewed by lead experts in various industries, not only data analytics, but environmental science, financial. And then we are running the same in a bit different format in a much shorter way for undergraduate students, not programmers. We believe that this is a new way of thinking, and that's why we're giving it to biomedical students when they're solving their problems. We're not setting problems for them. It is their ideas they are coming to resolve and produce in the form of scientific papers. And their papers, which submitted for evaluations. Also, it is an electronic product. They are using Overleaf. We have another partner organization, Digital Science, providing Altmetric. It is an electronic footprint of all the academic publications, so they see how the ideas resonate, not just reviewed, but resonate in the academic and general community. And they write not how the English teacher taught them, but with using all the possible tools.
Right. That sounds really exciting. Would you say it's the thing that you're most excited about in the next year?
You know what? Ambitions, it is one of the biggest problems I have. Actually, we hope that this program will get traction and find some support in education system. Because when I'm looking at the education system, I find that the way we're teaching the most important subject like math and sciences, it is a handcraft. And handcraft doesn't exist in, let's say, neither in industry nor in big science. We believe that our program is a bridge which helps students to go from handcraft science taught in school to the real needs. And that's, we hope that maybe this conference will be a way to draw attention of universities and see that there is another way of teaching science.
Right. So since you've mentioned the conference, what do you think is the biggest impact of the Canadian Science Policy Conference?
Well, we are so fortunate to be here because this is, I think that this is the most important gathering for the nation. I understand how valuable our natural resources. But in the world, in the data-driven world, in the world of high technologies, this conference, it is actually, it is giving a roadmap for the success of the country. That's my interpretation of this conference.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time and your insight here. Is there some place that our listeners can go in order to find out more about you and your work?
Well, the first thing will be stemfellowship.org. And the next thing, I would kind of use this opportunity as a provocation. Students designed a way to look into science differently. It's called rabbitholeofknowledge.com. One word, rabbit hole of knowledge. It is last year school graduates. They made a way to understand science not from the actual science articles, but from the derivative of the science articles, from the blogs, news posts, from YouTubes. You type the keyword, and you are placed in the middle of the YouTubes on this topic, made by scientists.
Neat.
Thank you.
Thank you.